Hello, Statagen. Last time I did something here in the studio was over 100 days ago, but I was active elsewhere. Almost every day, almost all of my free time I spent creating something. Why did I do this? To learn how video games work. We have all been there. We play a game, we like the game, and we play it excessively. After you initially found things in the game stupid because you didn't understand them, you feel more and more confident. You approach the game from different directions to squeeze every drop of fun out of it that could be there. Let's take the grandiose nuclear option as an example. In the beginning, I crashed an infinite number of times, died without knowing why, and was maximally haphazard when it came to what kind of mode escalation actually is. A few weeks later, I was able to take off with the chicane, destroyed enemies, and then land again. Jets have never appealed to me as much as the chicane, and after I had mastered flying the sexiest airframe in the game, I looked at what else was out there. Oh, there's a mission editor. So I dealt with it. I created simple missions, then I developed a Unity tool that allowed me to create pretty wacky missions up to racetracks. That was fun and shows what is possible with nuclear option. Modders became more and more active. There was the no black box mod, which I was able to contribute some 3D models at that time. These were stripped down versions of the models in the game, so not a feat, but they had so few polygons that TechView accepts them. I also made a voice pack for the Japinator mod. After I had explored the surroundings so far, I got more involved with Reddit and the YouTube community. I had 2 Discord servers. With the first one, I organized a dogfight tournament. With the second, a completely planned mission course for an escalation round. What can I say? It's more fun together, that's for sure. But organizing such events was enormously exhausting for me. There were no self-runners, and for my part I realized that I was too old for the spirit of the younger generation, or I'm just a weird bird. Anyway, I realized that I don't feel comfortable in the nuclear option community, not because it's bad, but because it doesn't fit. I was and am interested in bringing the gameplay to perfection, to increase skills and test new strategies. Then new content for the game was announced, which didn't excite me, but made me believe that the chicane will play less and less of a role. So instead of getting annoyed that nuclear option wasn't developing the way I wanted it to, I knew I had to find something new for myself. For all its awesomeness, and I mean that seriously, nuclear option also has its flaws. Let's think about the pathfinding of ground units. Of course, this is still being worked on, but at the moment other points seem to be more important in development. I thought to myself, this can't be that difficult. Or even to give orders to ground units that are more extensive than move there. I don't want to badmouth nuclear option, but the following thought germinated in me. Stop whining, do it better. And so I opened Unity to start a new project. No, it's not a nuclear option clone, no, it's not a masterpiece, I'm an absolute beginner and you can see that at every point in my current prototype. But it's an enormously instructive project and probably the first one that I want to develop further, at least up to a demo. A kind of nuclear option to describe is a mixture of flight simulator with RTS parts. I wanted to limit myself to the RTS aspect and create a Command & Conquer clone. The current working title of my prototype is Remote Transmission Signal. How can you be so daring and tackle such a project without appropriate training and extensive prior knowledge? Well, nowadays all the tools you need to do this are available for free. Blender for 3D models, GIMP for textures and Audacity for sound. Since I am absolutely not an artist, neither graphic nor acoustic, I have to be content with the absolute minimum that I can do myself. The low poly look of my prototype is not a design decision, but allows me to invest little time in models. At the moment I am mainly concerned with the code and functionality. All sounds are from websites that provide them free of charge, whether it's voice lines or explosions. I see everything as placeholders, everything can be replaced in the future. This also applies to the 3D models and textures. But to see whether a gun turret is turning correctly or to hear whether a gunshot sound is played at the right time, such placeholders are enormously important. In addition, it is good for me to watch when something moves. even if it is absolutely fundamental. And how I learned to deal with Unity and all the problems, I would also like to mention Google Search, YouTube and Gemini, the Google AI. Vibe coding was a term that was quite hyped. I used the free version of Gemini and I can say that an AI can help in some places. But especially when the project becomes more complex, the AI can also lead to an enormous amount of frustration. But don't panic, you still have a brain yourself. In my experience, vibe coding is not a process a la I enter a prompt and at the end a game comes out. I see AI more as one tool among many. Just like a hammer, you can do a lot with it, but to build an entire house you need more than just a hammer. For me, the current large language models are like librarians of a gigantic library. You can then ask for something with prompts and the AI will give you an answer in seconds. You have to deal with it accordingly so that you can benefit from it. I can only advise everyone to try it themselves instead of relying purely on the assessment of others. What is remote transmission signal supposed to be? As already mentioned, the initial idea was to create a Command & Conquer clone. You need some starting point. It was very clear to me. I'll keep my hands off multiplayer. All I learned in advanced was that multiplayer makes every game at least 100 times more complex. And since I perceive myself as an absolute beginner, I thought it made sense to keep my ambitions low, so a pure single player experience. I didn't use any assets from the Unity asset store in my project, so I had to create everything myself. Starting with a simple selection box to state machines for the units, i.e. systems that make units act differently in different states, to a basic AI that can build a base and command units. It's not enough if the player can build a base and command units himself, you also want to have an opponent. When building a base, the AI has to check whether a building site is valid, i.e. whether it is blocked or whether parts would be blocked as a result. Let's assume that a tank is produced, but the factory is now built in by buildings placed later. This would mean that the tank can never be used. All these small problems have to be fixed all the time. For pathfinding, I use Unity's built-in nav mesh system. I found a way to use it in a very resource-saving way. So far, it works solidly, even if some paths are a bit questionable. I think that Nuclear Option does not use this pathfinding because the maps of Nuclear Option are much larger than my playing areas. In addition to the actual gameplay, there's also the cosmos of the interface. So menus with text and buttons and toggles and input fields and scroll views and all that. At first I didn't feel like it at all, but it's magical. Just changing a font gives perception a new perspective. So I developed a very simple design line with few colors. It doesn't look spectacular, but it works and consumes little time. When it comes to menus, of course, you quickly think of settings that you want to make. Most of the time I jump into the settings of a game first to turn down the music. So I wanted to create such a menu as well. Now you can adjust the volume of different sound sources. There's not much you can do about the graphics yet. You can turn on VSync, adjust the resolution of the render texture of the view cones of the units, or define a fixed FPS value. It is already possible to change all existing keybinds. Of course, I would like to have more options in the future with graphics and keybinds, but I can't do everything at once. In addition to these settings, you can also choose the color of your own faction. Wow, not very exciting, I know. But for it to work, I had to learn a lot. I just say hello scriptable objects. What I find cool with Nuclear Option and also with some other games is if you have a kind of wiki about the game in-game. To do this, I created a scene called Intel, which is very similar to Nuclear Option's encyclopedia. The values of the units and buildings are displayed there. The attentive observer quickly recognizes that most of the values are similar. Believe me, this makes perfect sense for testing. If I always had to wait 1 minute for a tank to be completed, testing various mechanics would drag on forever. Before you start the test mission, you can currently have the option to check Spectate. As a result, you can't play yourself. Instead, two identical AIs play against each other. This helped enormously to find many bugs. There are still a lot, and I think I can't avoid restructuring the current code in the long run. but it works better and better. What is currently already possible can be watched as a spectator or played by yourself. Okay, let me try to give you a little impression of what my prototype has to offer so far. You always start with a start core, which allows you to build other buildings. Buildings can be constructed if they are in the transmission range indicated by the blue area on the ground and if sufficient capital is available. After placing 2 transmitters, I built a refinery. This enables the construction of harvesters. These are the only vehicles that can mine neat fruits. Basically the same principle as in Command & Conquer with Tiberium. With a helipad you can build air units. In addition to a chopper, carryalls can also be produced, which can then transport the harvesters. This transport is completely automatic. With the chopper, I can explore the surrounding areas, so that neat fruits are discovered for my faction. If any are known, harvesters automatically go there to harvest them. I can give the chopper waypoints that he flies one after the other to pass all the neat trees. As soon as a carryall drops a harvester, it starts harvesting. When a harvester is full, it makes its way back to the refinery. For this path, too, it is being examined whether a carryall can help.
Core. Start production.
Next to the chopper is an enemy hover, a scout. These are controlled by my very rudimentary AI. On the one hand, they explore the neat fruits and then they look for enemies. If an enemy is spotted, a random attack group is created and sent on the attack. Since the enemy will attack after a while, I build a factory that allows me to build vehicles. Since all vehicles cost little and only have 3 seconds to build, I just build tanks and flycatchers. Flycatchers are nothing more than ground units that can attack air units.
Bumblebee. Barrack production completed.
It is also possible to build infantrymen, which are then transported by air transporters. The Bumblebee can carry 5 infantrymen. In addition, it can heal infantrymen with a heal beam, just like the Terran transporters in StarCraft 2. With the tanks and flycatchers I built, I tried to protect the harvesting positions of the harvesters. I think it was discovered by the enemy.
Bumblebee. Understood. Refinery.
To increase my income quickly, I built a new harvester and another carryall. Money doesn't really play a role. I also have to admit that I haven't found a good basis for balancing yet. I think there has to be testing and testing again and again for the time being. The first opponent's attack could be well fended off, at least I have an idea of what the opponent will do. But here a small bug becomes recognizable. Because the opponent's auger was briefly visible, which should not be the case. In fact, I was so focused during the recording that I didn't notice the music in the background. But enough of the strumming. Thanks to a pause menu, you can adjust the volumes even while the game is running. Hooray!
We are ready.
Even though some aspects of the prototype already work well, there will still be a long way to go before something playable comes around. I'm still at the very beginning, but I'm still motivated to work on the project. It is actually a great feeling to experience how it continues to grow and thrive. I'm still very enthusiastic about what you learn, or in other words, how easily accessible some things in game development are. At least when you have such a low demands on yourself as I do. The current building system allows transmitters to be used to build a kind of outpost further away from the actual core. For example, you can build a refinery near neat fruit fields so that harvesters don't have to drive so far. It is currently the case that if the connection of the transmitters is interrupted, all buildings that are cut off from the core lose their function.
Core. Start production. Production completed. Refinery. Flycatcher. Understood. Ready to attack.
In the battles themselves, each unit acts autonomously, as far as possible.
Understood.
They attack when enemies are nearby and retreat when they are damaged, at least vehicles and aircraft.
Attack. Tank. Understood. We are ready. Ready to attack. Understood. Ready to attack. Tank. Understood. Understood. Core.
But enough of the skirmishing, I'm now creating a powerful army that could overkill the enemy.
Production completed. Start production. Production completed. Start production. Core. Production completed. Start production. Production completed. Production completed. Production completed. Production completed. Production completed.
Here you have an overview that shows active and destroyed units. These are the first attempts of a statistics system that I would like to have in-game. Of course, everything is still very simple, but so far functional. I actually think it's very cool what you can achieve as an individual nowadays, if you have the opportunity to invest a lot of time in your hobby. The programs are all free of charge, and I'm fascinated by the fact that you can implement many of your ideas quite simply. Because everything here that can be seen has to be simple. After all, it comes from me. But still, it keeps me in a good mood and makes me understand and appreciate better and better what it means to develop a game.
We are ready. We are ready.
Here's an example of a peculiar pathway. While most units drive in a straight line, some break out and think they are driving around a need tree. I have no idea why.
Understood.
Instead of letting my assault squad drive into the unknown, I give the already battered chopper a reconnaissance mission.
Understood.
Currently, I am busy optimizing everything available, above all, so that adjustments are possible in the future.
Chopper.
I have a simple AI for the skirmish mode, but what about campaign missions? I think I have to expand or adapt my current system or think about a new approach. Sometimes the difficult thing is the abundance of possibilities.
Understood.
My goal is to get a small demo campaign with 5 or 6 missions,
Understood.
just to find out what it means to get it all up and running. Maybe I fail on the way there, but
Understood.
I'll try.
Understood. 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 Tank. Understood.
After reconnaissance of the enemy base, I started the attack, knowing full well that the enemy will never have as many tanks as I do. The AI is enormously limited. However, there's currently not even a way to win the round, but I still tried to destroy all the buildings. So far I am very satisfied with the prototype. Every now and then there is a situation where processes don't work, but I'm working on fixing errors. As far as performance is concerned, my computer almost doesn't notice that the game is running.
Attack.
But let's be honest, it doesn't have much to offer.
Attack. Understood. Attack. Attack. Understood. Attack. Understood. Attack. Understood. Attack. Understood. Understood. Attack. Understood. We are ready. 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 Ready to attack. We are ready. Understood.
When recording the video footage, I initially missed the fact that the enemy had launched an attack on my base. And since I had all my own units in attack, it came to a classic base trade. In the end, however, no one won. I think I was able to get an insight into what is currently occupying me and what I spend most of my time on. I would like to continue working on the prototype, and if there's something to report, I will announce it here. I don't want to commit myself to a theme or game with my channel, which of course also means that I haven't turned my back on nuclear option. Only at the moment I'm fascinated by another project. All I can do is thank you for watching. If you've always wanted to see a special game mechanic in an RTS, let me know in the comments. Until next time, your Claw.